Hey there, I'm Keith. In this video, we're going over how to start a YouTube studio for beginners for free. And I'll also offer some upgrades for about $61 for everything. So we'll be going over the camera, audio, lighting, editing software, and everything you'll need to start making YouTube videos. I'll also be giving some tips and tricks along the way, and even if you're a beginner just starting out, you probably have more of a studio than you think already. In the next couple of videos, we'll go over a studio with a couple $100, so be sure to subscribe to check that one out in the future. But starting off with this budget setup, we're going to start off with our camera. And we're going to focus on using our phone's camera because most people these days have a phone that's capable of shooting HD video or even 4K video. And it's pretty good considering all of the other very entry-level point and shoots on the market. They might be slightly better than our phone's camera, but for the dollar to performance value, it's really hard to beat your phone's camera. When it comes to shooting our videos, we'll probably want to put our phone down on something stable so we're not moving it around while we're filming. If you're on a $0 budget, try to look around and find something that you can put your phone on. I've used books in the past to keep my phone upright and stable, and it's worked just fine. That being said, it's pretty janky and it does take some time to set up. There are a number of cheap tripods out there that come with phone mounts in them already. And this was one I got off Amazon for about $20 to $25. Your phone can clamp in here and you can solidly set this tripod down on a table or extend it out and put it fully on the floor. If you're filming talking head videos, having a tripod that you can put your phone in and just put it down on the ground will make your life a lot easier and your videos much more watchable. If you're an absolute beginner, using your phone's default camera app will work just fine for now. This should give you decent results straight out of the box and you don't have to worry about your camera settings at all. That being said, you should do some test shots with your camera just to see how it acts while you're filming. If it's refocusing or changing exposure, you'll want to look into an app that allows you to manually control your camera settings and lock them down. If you know how to set up a camera, I'd also recommend using this app just to control your camera for a little more fine-grained tuning of your camera settings. My favorite app for this is Filmic Pro. Filmic Pro is a paid app for Apple and Android phones. It does cost about $15, but it is a great way to unlock manual control of your phone's camera settings. Auto settings can give you some distracting results sometimes, and if your camera is constantly trying to refocus or change exposure while your camera is just filming you, you may not know it, and it will be really distracting for your viewers. So I would say taking manual control of your camera, if you can, is a good step in the right direction. And another really good tip while you're filming with your camera is to not use the front-facing screen, but to turn your phone around and use the rear-facing cameras, because not only are they higher quality, but you'll also resist the temptation of looking at your phone's screen and looking at yourself while you're filming instead of looking at the camera's lens. This sounds like a very strange thing to bring up, but if you are filming a video and you're looking slightly away from the person, this feels really weird. It feels weird for me to even film like this, but in real life, if you were talking to someone, but whenever you were talking to them, you just shifted your eyes away from their eyes, but you were still talking. This is what it looks like when you're filming with your phone's camera and you're looking at your screen and not the lens. If you're looking at the lens, it will make your video feel much more natural and it won't feel so strange to your viewers while they're watching it. For a quick and oversimplified crash course on your camera's settings, make sure your phone is recording in the highest resolution possible, like 1080p or even 4K. Keep your ISO as low as possible, around a 100 if you can. Try having your shutter speed double your frame rate for a nice blend of motion blur and not being over sharpened in digital. For example, if you're filming in 24p, try to keep your shutter around 1/50th of a second. If you're filming in a bright environment, you're likely not able to do this, but it's not the end of the world. But if you're absolutely interested in an advanced way to achieve this, check out my ND filters video. I'll leave a link for that at the end of this video and in the description below. Another quick tip is to pay attention to your framing. Since you'll be looking at the back lenses of your phone camera, you won't actually be able to see yourself, and make sure you are actually in one of the left or right quadrants of the frame or dead center. Like this video, I knew I was going to be moving around and showing things, and I said I'm just going to put myself in the center of the frame, so I'll have a little more wiggle room. If I put myself in, this is probably a third-ish. If I put something over here, my phone's probably off screen. So when in doubt, I just like to center myself so I have a little bit more wiggle room that I can actually show things or being a little more animated on screen, and I'm not either chopping off my head or chopping off one of my arms or a shoulder or something. So filming yourself is tough, but when in doubt, just put yourself in the center of the frame and you'll have the most wiggle room. The last quick tip is to make sure you're filming in the right orientation, especially with your phone. It's easy to film in the wrong orientation for the medium you're going to produce it on. There's nothing worse than going to an Instagram video and seeing that they filmed it in landscape mode, or conversely, watching a YouTube video where someone filmed it in portrait mode, but I'm sure you guys knew this already. The next major part we'll go over is sound. And on a $0 budget, when it comes to audio, we're gonna have to rely on our phone's microphones. This isn't the end of the world since our phones have decent microphones, but you need to be aware how your phone's mics work. You don't want to be far away from your phone, but you also don't want to have any obstructions between you and your phone's microphones. The better and closer you are to the microphone, the better you'll sound. This is true for all microphones, but especially when we're using our phone's microphones, because they are on the side of our phone usually, and we can't speak directly into them, and they're really not that directional of microphones. So if you have something making noise in your room, your phone will probably pick it up while you're recording. Controlling your recording environment is going to be really important here. If you have an air conditioner or a computer fan or any kind of low rumble, or a dog, she's okay, she's good. But if you have anything in your room, your microphone will pick it up. So to get the cleanest possible audio, your phone has to be close-ish to you and eliminate any ambient noise that you can. By eliminating ambient noise, we'll make sure our phone is picking up our voice and not anything else in the room that we don't want to be on film. One thing that will be really nice to have is a lavalier mic. This one is one that I picked up on Amazon for about $22, and this plugs in directly to your phone with a 3.5mm jack, or as you can see in this case, I have an Apple phone, so I have to use the Lightning to 3.5mm. But this does just plug directly into your phone, and it allows you to pin this lav mic. Don't mind my rat's nest of a microphone right now, but this allows you to pin this to your collar. I typically run it up my shirt. If you have a collared shirt, it's a little easier to hide, but if you don't mind, you can just pin this anywhere on your collar and plug the other end of this rat's nest directly into your phone, and the audio will be significantly better. Here's an example of my lavalier plugged directly into my phone using that lightning adapter. And I'm using the telephoto lens on my phone. So my phone's actually about 8 or 10 feet away right now. So I think it would be really difficult to get great usable audio with my phone this far away. Just for sake of example, let's unplug that microphone and see how that audio sounds. And this is what the audio sounds like with the lavalier microphone off of the camera. I'm sure this audio is really bad, so I will switch back to my other setup. Next up, let's go over our lighting. And again, on our $0 budget, we're going to want to utilize the lighting we already have. This can be easier said than done, and not all lighting is created equal. The best light for free is natural daylight. Learning lighting is outside the scope of this video, but let's do some cliff notes on learning how to find the best light. The best light is going to be if you're indoors, finding a large window with daylight coming through. It's like 9 o'clock when I'm filming this, 9:30 now, when I'm filming this in Ohio, so we don't have much light to begin with. and I don't have the luxury of using natural lighting right now. So you can also get around this by using some lamps you have in your house, but you also want to be really careful of this lamp in my living room is really yellow on the Kelvin scale. So natural daylight is about 5600 Kelvin. So if you're using a lamp that's really light, well, if it's really warm, we'll say, it might be worth going and picking up a cheap light bulb that's daylight balanced, or as close to 5600 Kelvin as you can get. If you end up using a lamp or a giant window for your key light, you may not get great results right out of the box. If you do, great, run with it. But most of the time, you're going to want to learn how to manipulate light a little bit. That sounds kind of scary, but I'll give you 2 quick tips. So 2 really cheap ways to do this is to run out to any drugstore and pick up 2 things of poster board, one black and one white. This is going to help us really manipulate our light, and it sounds silly, but it is deceptively simple and it can really work wonders. For me, obviously with these videos, I like to have a little bit more shadows and kind of like a moodier look to them. But let's say I wanted to give more light to this side so it wasn't such a moody look. And here is with a whiteboard pretty far away, well, an arm's length away. And the closer I get this whiteboard, you're going to see more of this dark side of my face filling in with bounced light from our light source. And if we get this really close, I'm sure I look pretty flat, not much dimension or shape to my face. But if I move this farther away, more of those shadows will come back. So where the blackboard comes in is that if you're on a really sunny day or your lamp is just really bright and it just seems to be overpowering everything, this is where using our blackboard or a negative fill, as it's usually referred to as, and it will help suck up some of the light from our subject, so it will actually appear as if one part of our subject is darker that's closest to our negative fill. So if we are looking and we're looking directly at our light and our subject is just looking really flat, we can add our negative fill in, and the negative fill will begin to actually remove light from one side of our subject. So I'm sure my microphone is really echoey now, but the closer we get our negative fill to our subject side, we'll actually pull off some of that light and add a little bit more shadow and dimension to the side where our negative fill is. So if you can remember, if you need more light, bouncing it will actually give you more fill. And if you need to actually subtract light, using a negative fill or your blackboard will suck up some of that light and give you a more moodier look or just add some dimension to your shape. When it comes to editing our video, since we're already shooting on an iPhone, let's look at some smartphone apps, and then I'll mention some actually bigger PC apps a little bit later. But for now, my favorite apps for editing on a smartphone or a tablet are LumaFusion first. LumaFusion is actually capable of some really advanced things like color grading and using templates, but you can also just drop footage on there and easily edit it on a timeline and export it. And it would save to your phone and you can export it to YouTube or Instagram or anything like that. Another great editing software, if you're just looking for like, basic cuts and stuff, is iMovie. iMovie is really user-friendly and easy to use. If you're just making straight cuts and maybe a couple little corrections here and there, iMovie works really well. Another good app to edit with is Adobe Premiere Rush. If you're used to Adobe Creative Cloud and just the Adobe way of doing things, Adobe Premiere Rush will be really familiar to you. And all of these smartphone apps make it really easy to just import your footage, edit it, export it, and just get going quickly. If you're looking for some more fine-grained control, or you just prefer using a keyboard and mouse to edit with like I do, I love using DaVinci Resolve because it is completely free, and on our $0 budget, free, and being able to move into a more professional app later if we need to is really appealing. If you have access to the Adobe Creative Cloud, obviously Premiere Pro is going to be one of the better apps to edit with. I might be a little partial because I love using Premiere Pro. You can also use Final Cut Pro if you're on a Mac computer, and that's nice because it's a one-time payment and it's completely done. If you're using Premiere Pro on the Creative Cloud, you'll have to have that recurring membership going. And if you already have that, it's great to use that software and you don't have to buy anything else. But if you don't have that software with Photoshop and Lightroom and all the other Adobe Creative Cloud suite of apps, it could be a little bit expensive to just buy that for Premiere Pro only. The king of budget if you're on a Mac is just using iMovie. The included iMovie software will really get you far. It's a little bit more advanced than the phone version one, but it's still very user-friendly and easy to use. When it comes to making simple YouTube videos with talking head and maybe some B-roll and music under it, really any of these apps will do the trick. It just comes down to your personal preference and what you really click with when you first start using it. Most of these apps have trials, so I would suggest every video you maybe download a new software and try out that trial to see what really clicks with you. And I've recently made a tips, tricks, and mistakes video for YouTube that goes a little more into the actual creation of making YouTube videos and what I learned on my road to 20,000 subscribers. Thank you guys, by the way. And if you are interested in more gear videos, I have a video coming up after this one that is focused on a $500 YouTube video setup. I've really enjoyed researching these different studios at different price points, so I will love to make more of these videos in the future. So be sure to subscribe to find your way back to check those videos out. And I just want to say thank you for watching and sticking around to the end, and I'll see you in the next one. And it will keep your phone nicely ratcheted in so you can actually put it on your tripod. And even right now, not emergency SOS.